Okay, hi lovelies, here again for our live demonstration, and we're doing JPL3. So while we're waiting for people to come on board, if you're sitting there watching me, send me a little hi, and if you're going to start mailing with us, perhaps close one ring and open up a handful of others. We can do that while we're waiting. Okay, JPL3 is classed as an intermediate weave. It's actually not that particularly tricky, but a lot of people have trouble with starting it. I think once you get it started, you'll be good with it. So hopefully we'll be able to show you today how to do the weave, and you won't be scared of it anymore. Don't forget, guys, just give me a little hi so I know that I've got some people watching me. As I said, if you're going to weave along, and open up some rings to start with. Make sure you've got one closed ring, and the rest all need to be open for this weave. I'm going to be working in bright aluminium 16 gauge 3.5mm ID. For this particular metal, that's a really good size. JPL is AR sensitive, so you can often have different sizes in different metals, even though they're the same gauges. So a little bit of playing around sometimes is necessary for JPL to get a really nice fit. So as I said, I've tested this one in 16 gauge 1.2mm 3.5. If you're using, say, like a sterling silver, which is 1.29, you'd want to go up to about 3.75. Okay. All right, we've got a couple people on board. Oh, excuse me. And I might just show you a couple of bracelets here while we're waiting. So this is our... Actually, I'll swap the view because this one's not such a good view. Bear with me for a minute. Okay. So this is the beaded JPL. And that uses 18 gauge 3.5 rings with a size 6 seed bead. These seed beads are actually metallic. They're not glass. We have them available as kits in the copper, silver, and the gunmetal. This is our chained hearts necklace that we have available. It's also JPL, done in bright aluminium, and this is 18 gauge. And another kit that we also have is the JPL bracelet in bright aluminium in 16 gauge, and that's the one we'll be working in tonight. JPL also looks fantastic in square wire rings. So in our bright aluminium range, anything that's got an A in the name is perfect for JPL. So whether it's 18, 16, 20, as long as there's an A in the name, you'll know that it will work perfectly for JPL. If you're wanting to use the bright aluminium, the coloured aluminium, the anodised aluminium, the 16 gauge 5/32 is the ones to use. So any of the square, and this is stainless as well, if it's got an A in it, it's perfect for JPL. The AA is 16 gauge 5/32. Different manufacturers, that's why there's different naming systems in place. But they will both work for JPL. Okay, we're going to make a little start. So like I said at the beginning, open up some rings. You can see my little pile just here. Close one ring and put a twist tie through it. You're going to need the twist tie, one to hang on to, and also it'll help you with remembering which end. So if you drop your work, it's easier if you know which end it is that you're working from. Alright, so once you've closed your ring and you've put your twist tie through, It's really simple. Pick up one of your open rings, feed it through, if you open it up properly, there we go, feed it through the closed ring, close her up. Oh, have to excuse me, once again I'm also not working without magnification and I'm having a little trouble seeing the 16 gauge rings. Okay, so that's all we've got at the moment. It's that little chain. What we want to do is we want to nestle that in there like we were making a Mobius. We're going to put our next ring into that eye that you can see that's formed there. So take up another opened ring, feed it through the eye of the two previous rings, and close her up. Okay, bear with me. Okay, there we go. So this is what our work looks like now. This is our first ring here. This is our second ring. And the third ring I've still got hold of with the pliers. I haven't let it go yet. We're going to place the next ring in there in that eye that's caused by the second and the third ring, but we want it to slip in under our first ring. So just showing that again, we want our new ring to go into the eye that's formed with the second and third ring, but it needs to slip in under the first ring. Picking up one of our opened rings and slipping that in. Now it's a little loosey-goosey at the beginning, don't worry too much if it's not 100%, you can always take a ring away at the end. Okay. And we just continue adding the ring in the eye that's formed by the last ring and the previous ring before it, slipping it in under the third ring. I'll bring that up a bit closer so you can see that. So this is our most recent ring, the one before it, and the third ring, we want it to slip in the eye of the first and second ring, but underneath the third ring. So we slip that in there like that, and we close it up. Okay. And our work looks like this. So again, most recent ring, second ring, third ring, we want to slip our new ring into the eye, but underneath the third ring. So it just goes in like that. What I find is the easiest way to make sure you've got it in the right position is when you close that ring, don't let it go in your right hand or your dominant hand. Hold on to that ring and it simply spins around into place and shows you where the next one will go, which is right in here. So we're going to tuck that in there. Close it up. And you see I haven't let it go. I've just moved it along. And it shows me that the next one has to go in here. And you just do that all the way along. So just slipping it in there in the eye that's formed by the most recent ring and the ring before it. These rings are a bit small. Unfortunately, JPL does require a small ring, so it's a bit hard to see. So here's our most recent ring, the ring before it, and the third ring. We slip it into that eye underneath the third ring, and we let it fall, close her up. Okay. And that's it really. I find it's easier to find when you're coming up for your next spot is just to let, as I said, your work to fall. It naturally spins around into place. If you do happen to put your work down and you've lost where you're up to, if you take your most recent ring that you've added, always make sure that's the ring that's on top. So you can see it's on top of the weave there. Okay. And then you know then that it goes into that eye there underneath the third ring. It's actually a fairly easy weave. It is easy to get it out of whack. But you just need to keep an eye on it. So the pattern we want to look for, I'll show you in a piece it's a bit longer that's already made up. We need the pattern to go, one goes up, one goes down, one goes up. And then if you go along the line, you can see that end sitting on top, that on bottom, that on top, that on bottom. So it needs to keep that same pattern all the way through. If a ring's moved out of that pattern, just say you've got, you know, this one here is on top, but your next one actually sits underneath that one, it's not sitting on top of it, then there's been an error with your pattern. JPL is flexible in all directions if done properly. If you do have a row out of whack, your work is flexible one way but tends to be rigid the other. So if you've got a piece that is quite stiff one way or is only flexible one way, look at your rows and see whether you've got them going in opposite directions. So this one we've got it sloping down, this one we've got it sloping up, sloping down. So if you had one that was sloping down and then sloping down, there's been an error made. Okay. All right. Have we got anybody weaving along with us? Are we going fine? I'm seeing a few comments about frozen. Is everybody okay now? Okay, so just to continue on, trying to get this in close for you, but it's not focusing all that well. So you can see here I've got a bit of a mistake going on. It's come loose here. I've got one on top, one underneath, one on top. So I would have to go back and actually fiddle around with that a little bit and fix her up. But you can see the pattern forming. If I can get this to focus. Sorry guys, it's really not focusing on these smaller rings. This is why I normally use 14 gauge for the demonstrations. Okay, so I find my next spot, which is, you know, my most recent ring on top, so therefore I know it goes into this eye, but underneath the third ring. Let it naturally twist and fall around. Close her up. Bring the work up, and I can see there's my spot just there. Black wing rings, yeah, probably not the best colour to start with, Linda. Hi Dawn, glad you all turned up okay. Silver, thanks for letting me know that it's coming through okay. It could be just the internet connection, might be a bit sporadic. Okay, so like I said, into the eye there formed by the last and the previous ring, keeping it underneath that third ring. That's most important. Make sure you keep the same pattern going. It pays with JPL to always keep an eye on your work to check that you're doing it correctly. There's nothing more disheartening than having to go back and remove a ring part way through. Okay, so in through there, let it twist and fall by itself, close it up. It's really that simple. Okay, whoop. In through there, close her up. Okay, as usual, we'll do a little giveaway for everybody that's watching this live. Once more, we'll give you the tutorial. We'll send you the basic JPL tutorial that we have. If you just leave a comment for me and let me know either maybe your nemesis weave. A lot of people find JPL to be their nemesis, but if you've got another one, or even just a weave that you want to try but you're feeling a bit scared about, leave that weave in the comments and we will send out a copy of the JPL PDF file to you via Facebook as soon as we're finished with here tonight. Okay, so Linda, are you going along okay? Are you following, is your work working out well, following the instructions? Do you need me to go over anything again? Anybody else that's weaving? Dragon weave. So you mean dragon scale, Dawn? It's not scary. It's a little complicated. It's a little fiddly. Takes a few rows to get stable, but it's not too scary. A few weird looking bits when you first start's fine, Linda. I've got a couple of weird looking bits at the beginning of mine too. And often right at the beginning, that first ring isn't particularly stable. It's not unusual for that first ring to be out of place. You can see I've got, I don't know if you can see, but I've definitely got one out of place here as well. And you can see, if I can show it to you, these ones here are all tucking in underneath the one before it, but this one here is actually sitting on top of the one before it. So what's happened is this first ring slipped out of place. So I'd have to go back in and tidy that back up later. But I do recommend that you keep an eye on JPL. It is one of those weaves that you can get out of place quite easily, and it's then a pain to go back and fix. Okay, so that's basically it, guys. It's not, as I said, it's not a particularly difficult weave. It is, though, a weave that is easy to think you're doing it correctly, and it ends up that you've got false. Moorish Rose, yeah, Moorish Rose is, that one frightens me too. So maybe we can tackle that one together. I love the look of Moorish Rose, but it is a little intimidating to look at. So maybe we can add that to the list and we can both learn that together. Anything's still a nemesis. Nemesis. You're right, Susie. You're doing really well. Okay. So does anybody else have any questions or wants me to go over anything again? Just let me know. Otherwise, I think we're pretty much done. So you can see I'm just letting putting the ring in and letting it just naturally twist and fall so that it shows us the next position. I find that's the easiest way. Ring sizes for this particular weave, as I was saying, Kerry, JPL is one of those weaves that it is very AR sensitive, so it does have to have particular ring sizes. This one I'm using is our 16 gauge BA, bright aluminium, 3.5mm ID. That works well, I found. You may have to go with coppers and things like that. You might have to go up a little bit bigger to the 3.75 because of the softer weave, a softer ring, sorry. 18 gauge 3 in the BA works beautifully. And then I think it's like a 2.5 in the 20 gauge. I've also gone down to a 22 gauge, but unfortunately I couldn't find my bracelet tonight, all the details on it. But that's it. That makes an absolutely beautiful ring. So JPL is an AR of 3. There's not a lot of wiggle room. There's a small amount, but there's not a lot of wiggle room. If it's too loose, then it will just fall apart and you won't end up with JPL. You'll just end up with a mass of rings. If you're wanting to do the beaded one, we use, because it's with a bead, we use it a little bit, the size is a little bit bigger. So this is 18 gauge 3.5 BA for the rings, and it's a size 6 in the seed beads, and that makes a beautiful bracelet. I've got 3 joined together here, but it's quite pretty. JPL is one of I wear it a lot. JPL. I wear it in square a lot. Square stainless. Love it in square stainless. If you're using our square stainless or our square bright aluminium rings, anything with an 18A, or anything with an A on it, so 20A, 18A, 16A, they will all work. If you're wanting to go with the square aluminium, the 16 gauge 5/32 will work for JPL. Okay, so those are the square sizes that work. Okay. All right, well, I think we're actually finished for the night. Don't forget, for those that have just joined, if you want to list a weave that you consider your nemesis weave while we are still live, we will send you out a copy of our PDF for the JPL. Silver, it's called bright aluminium because of the process, because of the alloy and the process that's used to draw it. Aluminium itself, pure aluminium, is actually a soft grey and is a very soft material. It's not appropriate for chainmail. It doesn't stand up. Bright aluminium is an alloy, and it's given its bright finish by the way that it's drawn. Woohoo! Linda, well done, darling. You'll have to post a photo and show us. Yes, Heath insisted on being in the picture. Here he is. He's holding the pen of Excalibur up for me. I'm very fond of my friend Heath. Debbie, if you leave me the name of a weave that you consider a nemesis weave, or perhaps something that you've been just a little bit too scared to try, if you pop that in the comments while we're live, which will be just for a couple of more minutes, then we'll send you a copy of the JPL3 PDF file. It's only while we're live. As soon as we press the stop button, unfortunately that offer is no longer up. No, it's not a bullet, it's the pen of Excalibur. Don't you think it's sexy? I think it's sexy. Writes nice too. Anybody that wants a Heath of their own, we actually got him from, what's it called, Chris? Geeks? Something?
Geek.
Think Geek. There you go. Sorry. Having a blonde moment. Think Geek. So, he's my little helper. Look, he's even got a little bit of engraving on the back. It's very cute. Well, you'll have to come up with a name, Debbie. Sorry. I'm not sure about a ball using helm. Heath for Heath Ledger out of A Knight's Tale, Tamara. That's why he's called Heath. Okay. Alright guys, well I think we're done here for the night. I don't know what a Celtic ball is. I'm going to have to look that up. That one I don't know. Alright guys, thank you all very much for joining in. This is where I have to admit, Kerry, I actually don't think I've ever watched it all the way to the end. Then name a weave, Joe, and I'll send you a copy of the PDF. Just name one that you would like to try. It doesn't have to be a nemesis, just one that you haven't tried yet but you would like to. Movie in the background. We could do that. We could watch ourselves a little bit of manly men dressed up in Maille and call it research. It's what I do. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to call it quits. I hope the demonstration was helpful. As usual, in a couple of days we'll put the next demonstration up. Let you know what ring sizes and everything that you need. Thanks for coming. I'll catch up with you later. Bye everyone.